Howdy ho, welcome back to my show. It's the Wolfenaar Show on YouTube. You know you're on YouTube. That was dumb. But I'm keeping it in because I'm honest. My name's Fraser. I'll be your guide through history's dark and dreary alleyways. Or are they stormy tonight? I don't know. It's pretty chilly. I've been getting a few comments about my friend over here. His name is Joel. Joel, say something. Say hi to the people. Hello, says Joel. That's not what he sounds like. That was me, quite obviously, mimicking his voice. Actually, Joel has a beautiful voice. Welcome back to part 3 of Mothman. If you have not seen, and I'm doing this again, if you have not seen the Indrid Cold episode, check it out. He's over here. That guy's creepy. If you haven't seen part 1 of Mothman, you gotta find part 1 of Mothman up here. If you haven't seen part 2 of Mothman, he's right here. He's on my face, baby. He's got my face. It's covered up. I think I can do that. If it didn't work out, please laugh at me in the comments. This is part 3 of Mothman. We're getting into contemporary sightings of the man moth, and I cannot wait. I, for one, am a big fan. I, for one, am a real big fan of the Mothman story. Do I believe Mothman was real, or people were freaking out? I'll tell you at the end of this video, because it's the end of our Mothman exploration, and I'm so excited. But without any further ado, I need you to subscribe to this channel, and then also like the video, and then send the whole series to your friends. And in the future, I'll put one big episode up. It's just easier to edit the small ones. But now, let's get into Mothman Part 3. The Electric Boogaloo? Mothman Part 3. Even more Mothman. There's so much to this topic that we won't be covering. Things like encounters with men in black are still a little out there, even for Wolfenaars. So for this final part of our coverage of the Mothman phenomenon, we'll focus on sightings outside of Point Pleasant and 1966. We'll also answer the question of what exactly Mothman is, or we'll try. Getting lost in the weeds on the weirder theories is half the fun after all. The Dragon Man of Chernobyl, Mothman's big debut. Flying humanoids are a dime a dozen. They could all be modern myth-making, or they could all be Mothman. Before Point Pleasant, there was another sighting of a winged humanoid in the days leading up to a great tragedy. Actually, several. The Chernobyl, not sure if I'm pronouncing that right, I'm actually sure I'm not, was located in southeastern China. Roughly 15,000 people lived in its shadow in the early 20th century. January 1926 found the villagers in terror after they started seeing a dark man-like creature with massive wings around the dam. Sightings of what became known as the man dragon intensified until the dam failed on the 26th of January 1925. Water rushed out and drowned the countryside and everyone living in it. Eyewitnesses claim to have seen the man dragon above the dam just before it collapsed. Very spooky stuff. Also, more illegal activities. The Freiburg Shrieker, Mothman the hero. German miners have always been a superstitious lot. It makes sense. Working in the darkness of the inner earth can be a spooky experience, someplace I'll never go. The legend goes that in September 1978, a group of miners encountered something terrifying on their way to work. Upon reaching the entrance to their mine, they found the way blocked by a large man wearing a black cape. Calling out to the man, they approached. The man turned to look at them, and what they at first thought was a cape unfurled into 2 huge wings. Further attempts at approaching the creature and the mine it guarded caused it to let out an unholy screech. The miners described the sound as 50 men screaming together. Bravely, the miners backed off and decided to wait it out. They waited for about an hour when they heard and felt an underground explosion. Their mine had collapsed, and had the Freiburg Shrieker not intervened, they would have been buried alive. The Blackbird of Chernobyl, Ukrainian Mothman. Mothman may have hit the big time after its appearance in Point Pleasant, but it seems like the bird-like creature wasn't done yet. Legend has it that a similar creature was sighted in the days leading up to the Chernobyl nuclear disaster in April of 1986. It was the worst nuclear power disaster in history. According to the legend, the Blackbird of Chernobyl was a tall, dark humanoid with massive wings, no neck, and large, glowing red eyes. The description is very similar to what we got from eyewitnesses in Point Pleasant as well. Several workers at the Chernobyl plant allegedly reported seeing the beast over the facility. Witnesses claimed that they were beset by nightmares after seeing the black bird. Could the dreams have been stress-induced due to the stresses of working at a nuclear power plant? In a familiar twist, the witnesses started receiving strange phone calls. John Keel also reportedly received weird calls during the Mothman's flap in Point Pleasant. Robert Maxwell, an archaeologist from Sydney, Australia, is the main source for this legend. He completed 2 expeditions in the exclusion zone around Chernobyl. According to Maxwell, he heard about the Blackbird of Chernobyl during his time there. Chicago Mothman, just hanging out. Mothman has long been associated with impending tragedy. That's why, when residents of Chicago started seeing something similar above their city in 2011, they were freaked out. I would be freaked out even if it wasn't associated with tragedy. Between 2011 and 2017, sightings of a large humanoid with massive wings were reported all over Chicago. Most of these sightings occur near large bodies of water. Could Mothman have been trying to warn residents of Chicago of the explosion and partial collapse of the Calumet water reclamation plant in 2018? Who knows? It's pure speculation. Eyewitnesses in Chicago described the creature as a tall humanoid with distinct arms and legs, covered in dark fur and flying on its membranous wings. Some believe this Mothman to be nothing more than a drone wearing a costume. It's plausible. Either way, this Mothman is still being seen to this day. Lon Strickler of Phantoms and Monsters wrote about a sighting that happened in October 2019. According to the witness, "I had just parked my car to see my boyfriend at the time, Pilsen Community. It was October 2019. I parked almost 2 blocks from his building. It was really late, and I was walking past the under of this bridge. Standing underneath reminiscing, I saw a 7-foot-tall humanoid with veiny bat-like wings, face towards the wall, not directly staring at me, but just standing. I got super creeped out, so I started walking to where I needed to be. But when I look back, I know for sure that I saw something very strange." So you never know, perhaps the Mothman has taken a liking to the Windy City. Maybe it's retired. So what is the Mothman? Here comes the wacky part. Everyone with an internet connection and a desire to be part of the conversation has put their hat in the ring. The most grounded, if inaccurate and boring explanation is Dr. Robert L. Smith's sandhill crane idea. The main issue with this theory is that the description of Mothman doesn't line up with the sandhill crane at all. The next theory is that Mothman is an extraterrestrial being. It came here on Indrid Cold's spaceship or one of the others seen over Point Pleasant in the weeks leading up to the Mothman's first appearance. What exactly an alien moth monster has to do with showing up at catastrophic events is up for debate. Somewhat related to the extraterrestrial theory is that the Mothman is a time traveler. Somewhere in our deep future, there exists an avian being with an innate interest in catastrophic events. Another popular theory is that the Mothman is actually a mutant. To believe this theory, you have to subscribe to the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle school of genetics. The idea is that the local wildlife was mutated by the production and storage of munitions in the TNT area of Point Pleasant. Unfortunately, that's not how mutation works. You're going to end up with a very cancerous creature, not a humanoid bird. Chief Cornstalk's curse is also quite a popular theory. The curse came about following the wrongful execution of the chief by European colonists. Cornstalk's final days were spent in Fort Point Pleasant. After several bloody battles between the native inhabitants of the area around the Ohio River and the settlers, Chief Cornstalk sought peace. He believed that the two groups could live in harmony with one another. Unfortunately, not all of his people agreed, and neither did the foreign settlers. Chief Cornstalk went to the colonial fort on the 7th of November, 1777. He tried to initiate peace talks with the colonists. According to Chief Cornstalk's testimony, the British were trying to get the Native American tribes on their side for a war against the separatist settlers. The soldiers at the fort were having none of this peace malarkey. They imprisoned Chief Cornstalk and did the same to his son when the latter came to convince them to set his father free on November 9th. While the tribes living in the area weren't united, they all respected Cornstalk. He could have been a great uniting force. It wasn't meant to be. On the 10th of November, 1777, two men from the fort went out hunting along the river. Their comrades in the fort soon heard gunfire and rushed to the scene. Native American raiders had killed both hunters. The soldiers returned to their fort and murdered Cornstalk in their rage. As he lay dying, he said, "I was the borderman's friend. Many times I have saved him and his people from harm. I never warred with you, but only to protect our wigwams and lands. I refused to join your pale-face enemies with the redcoats. I came to the fort as your friend, and you murdered me. You have murdered by my side my young son. For this, may the curse of the Great Spirit rest upon this land. May it be blighted by nature. May it even be blighted in its hopes. May the strength of its people be paralyzed by the stain of our blood." The monument built in his honor was twice destroyed by lightning. Spooky. Whether Mothman is an alien, mutant, curse, demon, drone, angel, or gargoyle, it remains a compelling story. Now, personally, I believe people were seeing something in Point Pleasant, in Chernobyl, in Schauenterdam, and even in Freiburg, where they may have been drunk, because apparently drinking makes you see things. Which it obviously doesn't, and people go on their way to work wouldn't be drunk. But yeah, so I think they saw something. Do I believe it's a giant Mothman? I don't believe it's a giant Mothman. It's a fun legend, and it is so much fun to retell it. But I don't see it happening. Also, it's like vertical takeoff with no flapping. What are the wings for? Is it jet propelled? We need to know these things. If it had some sort of anti-gravity tummy-tum, would it need wings? Would it not be better suited to be a ball? We just can't know. Here's another theory for you. Mothman is the ghost of Abraham Lincoln. No, I'm kidding. Guys, so that is the Mothman story. I did a lot of research on this one, and I hope you enjoyed it. Parts 1, 2, 3, and Indrid Cold, all available to watch. Let me know what you think. What was Mothman? Which of these theories is your favorite? And do you believe that Mothman is A, causing these tragedies, or B, trying to warn us of these tragedies, or C, just happens to be in the wrong place at the wrong time? Maybe Mothman just can't pick his vacation destinations well. We just don't know. But until next time, like, subscribe, comment, send it to your grandma. Stay smart. Bye.